Yo, this is Steve Bloom, and you're watching Moana Nui Podcast. We'll be starting soon. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, I just want to say, Moana Nui, I choose you!
So, we will now be interviewing Mr. Bill Farmer, and who would like to start? You want to start, Mr.?
Do you want to have an introduction of yourself?
Okay, my name is Bill Farmer. I'm a voice actor, probably best known around the world as Gorsh, the voice of Goofy, and Pluto for the Disney company over the last 35 years, and many other characters along the way, most notably recently, Hop Hop in Amphibia. I have a show called It's a Dog's Life, live action show on Disney Plus that I produced as well as hosted. And go back as far as RoboCop on camera. And like I say, I've been doing Goofy since January of 1987. So a lot of stuff, a lot of Warner Brothers characters in the meantime as well.
Okay, who's next? Mr. Q, are you next?
Yes. How has the experience been playing Goofy over the years?
Okay, I have to repeat the question
Yeah.
so that it goes on the video correctly. How has it been doing Goofy over the years?
It's a dream job. First of all, Goofy and Mickey and Donald are characters that have been around longer than any other characters. Mickey since 1928. Goofy turned 90 just the day before yesterday, May 25th. So 1932 to now, and he's on TV every day. I've been on TV about every day since 1987. Not many actors can say that. It's a dream come true, and he was my favorite Disney character growing up, so I guess that's why I walked around practicing the voice, and gosh, it paid off.
So considering the fact, given your illustrious career, that being Goofy and various other characters, you have literally watched your audience grow up. I remember Goofy movie, I remember Kingdom Hearts, and now these series have spanned, and now the people who watch them as children or having children of their own, has that really left an impact on you to be the avatar of this character for so long?
Has being Goofy over the years had an effect on you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's so nice to come to a Comic-Con and meet the fans who it really impacts, and I can hear from them, because when we're recording, I'm in a room by myself, I just have a script and we just lay down the lines, and you never really get a response from an audience. I did 5 years of stand-up before this, and you get an immediate response on, okay, I know how I'm doing. With voiceover, you really don't until you go to an event like a Comic-Con or whatever. Few exceptions, like a Goofy movie, I got to see it in theaters with an audience, so you hear people laugh, you hear the response that they have. That's very heartwarming. Meeting people over the years, how it impacts people. For some reason came to me, probably one of the most famous people I ever met was in Florida. I got to meet Muhammad Ali, and he I told him who I was and everything, and he said, that's cool. He says, do you talk to kids in hospitals? Was his first question. And I do occasionally on Make-A-Wish Foundation, stuff like that, talk to kids, and that's one-on-one where you really hear the love and the reality of these characters. And he said, man, then you're my hero, and shook my hand. And that just right there solidified the importance of these characters, and I don't take it lightly. And I really, to these kids and everything, and the fans, it's more than just a silly cartoon character. It really means something. A Goofy movie, I've had so many people say, I couldn't talk to my dad until that movie came out. It became our movie. And it's important. It has an importance beyond just a cartoon show. And I try and keep that in mind whenever I meet fans and do the voice and do my job.
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask, so what is your favorite performance out of all of these years? Like your favorite experience performance that you have just seen and the people around you have been just like, wow, this is an amazing thing that I've done that made these people really appreciate Goofy.
What was your favorite performance you've done over the years as Goofy?
That's a hard one to answer because I've done nearly 4,000 performances as Goofy for the Disney company, and series and television records and everything else, talking toys and everything. But probably the number one that the fans talk about the most is a Goofy movie. It was first theatrical movie of any of the main 5 Disney characters, and it came out great. It's been 35 years almost, or let us see, 95 to whatever it is now, and almost 30 years. And it's still a viable movie, and people all the time. And as was mentioned earlier, my fans have grown up with this character. They used to identify with Max, and now they're identifying with Goofy as a parent. And okay, it's kind of a full circle, and their kids now are fans. So it's kind of that, you be careful what you do because it's going to last a long time. But I'd have to say a Goofy movie of all the things I've done with probably made the most impact with fans. Now, individual episodes of any of the series that I've done, I have my favorites and everything just because of stretching the character, doing something new or fun. There's a lot of those, but I'd have to say a Goofy movie overall.
Mr. Allen?
Yeah, you want me to use my
Oh, you can, yes. You're close enough for me to pass it.
No, before I go into my question, I would just say like that movie really impacted me a lot because growing up, I think like I understood that relationship with my father is similar to Goofy and Max when you have the rebellious side.
Right.
And then you learn to love your father the same way Max did with Goofy. So just that's a movie I'm gonna watch with my son, just to see his reception. But I was gonna ask about moving forward, like with your stand-up. Like, would you describe your style more so like clean, or is it like observational? How would you like describe like?
I did a lot of impressions, and I started in Dallas back in 1982. Did it for 5 years. It was the best training I ever had for doing voiceover, because stage acting, and I always tell students and people who want to get into this, stage acting is a little bit exaggerated, so people in the back can hear you, so you kind of do it a little louder. Movements are more grand than say in film. That's the way stand-up and animation are very similar. So I always tell students, if they want to get into voiceover, learn to be a great actor. Take acting lessons, and especially stage acting, because you learn so much on how to say a line and everything from an audience. And you don't get that in a booth where it's just you and your microphone and a script. You just got to know how to get the most out of that line.
Ms. Renee?
I'm not sure how familiar you are with anime in general, but I feel like Amphibia is what you would call an isekai in Japanese category, which is someone falling into another world and experiencing that. How familiar are you with the impact that Japan has had on some of the Disney, on some of the Disney content that you've created? So Kingdom Hearts,
Oh, yes.
Amphibia, things like that.
Well, Kingdom Hearts is I think we came out with the first game in 2002, I believe. And it's the longest running series, as I understand, of anything that we've done that's still, viable. It was interesting also in that it was done first in Japan, so I'm listening in my headphones to the Japanese actors. I'm listening to the Japanese Goofy, who learned by listening to me how to do the laugh and everything, and it's very odd. And I'm putting English words replacing the Japanese words, and I don't hear anybody else's lines leading in. It's quite difficult because there are thousands of lines and they're not linear. It's not like one following the next. You can get lost really easy. You got to really depend on the director and everything. Amphibia, I love the reaction that people have had, especially today. I mean, people, the series ended like just about a week or so ago, and people love that. And I do a character named Hop Pop on the series, and I love doing that because unlike Goofy, I was stepping into a role that had a previous history. I got to come up with Hop Pop, and give him a little bit more of my take on it and come up with a voice, and the direction was flawless, and the story was just, it was great. And I just, that's definitely, it's like children. Goofy's my child and Hop Pop's my child. Which one, people say, which one do you like doing more? You can't even go there. It's just, they're both your children and you love them both.
Next one. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask, how was the experience working on games like Kingdom Hearts, or Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular? Like, we had a long stretch between 2 and 3, and I don't think Goofy really played a particular role. Did you ever think that you would ever see, did you ever think that you would see the opportunity to play Goofy in Kingdom Hearts again?
Yes, only because I knew that they had produced it in Japan, so I knew that they would probably be translating into English and it would be coming up. But there was a big time gap between, especially the second and the third main game. But yeah, I felt that it would come back. If it's so popular, it just always, they'll be doing more. Typically, I expected that, but you never know. From time to time, things get canceled, new projects come up all the time, and you never know what's around the corner.
Next one. Oh, Mr. Q.
All right, so you're doing Goofy for many years and many characters. Do you have any favorite lines from there? Cause I know I saw an interview where you like the potato world.
Yeah. Oh, Potato Land, you mean? Yeah, potato land. People ask me to quote that from time to time. Quite often they'll say, what's my favorite line from a Goofy movie? And it's usually when Goofy's asleep and how many cups of sugar does it take? How many cups of sugar does it take to get to the moon? And Max, 3.5. And he goes back. I had to do that about 20 some times to get it right.
Who's next? Mr. Allen?
Sure. So I know that you worked on Space Jam, so I wanted to know if you had any cool stories to share. Like, did you work with Michael Jordan directly, or was it more so everybody was separated in the booth?
Ivan Reitman, who produced that movie, was the animation director. He wanted to direct us, and it was a separate thing, so I never got to work with Michael or any of the on-camera actors directly. It was a big thrill for me. I had met Mel Blanc when he had done Roger Rabbit back very early. And of course, he's like a god in the voiceover business. I mean, we all knew his name as kids, and I used to watch Bugs Bunny and all of that. And to be able to do some of his characters in that movie, I did Sylvester, Yosemite, and Foghorn. I've done Bugs and Daffy and Robot Chicken. And so I was able to do some of those voices, and that was a big thrill because he was probably the #1 icon for every voice actor out there growing up.
Next.
Mason.
Do you have another one, Mason, or Mr. Adrian?
Yes.
You don't just talk loud.
So, what is your favorite non-Goofy or Disney role that you have ever done?
Well, Space Jam is way up there. That definitely is it. I've done a lot of incidental voices too. I do a lot of background voices for movies over the years. Probably the most obscure thing I've ever done is in the movie Beauty and the Beast. I was a lot of the people attacking the castle toward the end. The most obscure thing that no one knows about is in the scene where Gaston is singing about decorating with antlers and all of this. He throws 3 eggs up in the air, and they go, that's me. I'm eggs. So got eggs on my resume. Other things that occasionally I won't even remember until I see the movie. Shrek 2, they had a party at the castle, and I did the announcing saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Princess Fiona and Prince Shrek." And my son was with me, and he says, "Dad, that's you." And I guess it was. I forgot. Don't ever know, but yeah, these little incidental voices are a lot of fun. I've done a lot of non-Disney things. The movie Sing, I did a dog reporter in that. The Lorax, the Grinch, just little incidental characters are a lot of times kind of fun little nuggets that when you see the movie, you go, oh yeah, they used my take on that. Oh, cool. You never know.
You want to know?
Sure. Yeah. So I know you did Robot Chicken too, and that's like very, very different from like Disney. Would you say that like your personal humor is more like a Robot Chicken, or more like wholesome Disney like?
Yeah, when I do, well, of course, a lot of the stuff we do at Disney is for like 5 and under, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, that kind of thing. And I like edgier stuff. I was a stand-up comic so definitely, yeah. Robot Chicken has, Amphibia has a lot of great lines that Oppai does. The new Mickey Mouse shorts is kind of a different style of Goofy than it is on what I call the traditional Goofy. And we were able to do things in those series that we'd never been able to do before. Goofy was a zombie in one thing, and I found out. I love Halloween, so I think, oh, good, Goofy's going to be a zombie, and that was so cool. And those scripts are wonderfully funny, and I love doing those too, because it's much more adult and a little whacked, and so am I.
We have time for one more question. Mr. Q has said that he would like to ask the last question. Go ahead, sir.
You say you do a stand-up before, so do you have any like stories of like embarrassing or funny set you ever did?
Embarrassing, or what was the?
Or funny set.
Oh my gosh. I started back in 1982 in Dallas with our house comic was a guy named Bill Engvall, who went on to great fame with the the Blue Collar Comedy Tour with Jeff Foxworthy and everything, and Tim Allen and Roseanne Barr and all sorts of guys from that era. Sam Kinison I knew. All of those guys were Texas comics, and it came through our clubs, and I got to learn from some of the best, I think. And I made me a Disney legend in 2009 along with one of my idols, Robin Williams, and that was a big thrill to get the chance to meet him. Stand-up is tough. I got to say, you're on a Friday night in some town, in the middle of Texas or Louisiana, Oklahoma or something, and they aren't in the mood to laugh. It can be really a long night. But if you can survive that, I think you can survive anything in show business. Compared to that, voiceover is a dream. It's very competitive. It's tough to get a job, but once you get the job, it's a joy to do. And so I've been very fortunate. When I got the job of doing Goofy, I was still doing stand-up, and they said, well, you got to be available or we can't use you. If you're out on the road as a comic, we'll have to get someone else. And I said, I'll quit. I'll stay in town. I'd much rather do Goofy. So I'm glad I did it. I guess it's like people going in the army or something. I'm glad I did it. I'd never want to do it again.
Yes.
What's up, MomoCon? Nobody cares. Mo.
We're going to get started now.
Yes.
Who would like to ask the first question so that I stop talking? Mr. Q.
Yes.
All right, so you've been a part of a lot of like 90s big shows. Like, how was that experience?
It was great. No, I don't get a proper introduction with my real name. That would be great. Or do I do it?
Jason Marsden.
Marsden.
Yeah, you can introduce yourself in your rap.
Jason Marsden.
Yes.
My new friend.
Yes, we've known each other for so long.
And now I have it all together. Oh, thank you, sir. And now Mr. Q. You will ask the first question.
How many movies of X-Men was I in? None.
All right.
Yes, go ahead.
So you've been a part of a lot of big 90s TV shows. How was that experience?
I mean, in hindsight, it's pretty awesome because at the time I didn't realize it was just, they're just jobs. But to have been part of such nostalgia and kind of like sprinkle in a little bit here and there, and people, will recognize me from that, or they won't. They'll be like, wait, you look familiar. Do I know you from somewhere? So it's always a fun, little pleasurable experience. And they did a 90s convention, a full 90s con in Connecticut earlier this year, and that just fed everyone's Frankenstein, man. And I was proud to be there because I was representing, being on Boy Meets World and Full House and Hocus Pocus. All those cast were there, and I was kind of bouncing around. I was like that cousin that kind of goes to all the parties. Yeah. Yes,
Mr. Allen.
Hey, so kind of to piggyback off that question, because you were in some of my favorite 90s shows, like Just Shoot Me, like David Spade. So I was wondering, like, what are your favorite characters to portray? Because I know you've done a lot of character work.
Sure.
So what are kind of your favorites to kind of
My favorites to portray are obviously the easiest ones. Like I'm tiny. I'm a little bit arrogant, a little fast talking. So those kind of macho. The character played at Just Shoot Me was that character. He was the bully for one of the lead characters as a child. He grows up, but I'm still tiny, but I'm still kind of an asshole, still kind of, arrogant guy. So those are always kind of, the fun comedic relief kind of guys is what comes easy for me.
Yeah, I remember you and Elliot. It was hilarious.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. I got a coin.
Next question.
Hi.
Yes.
I'm Sierra.
Hi, Sierra.
How was it from acting on scene to acting behind scene? How is it transitioning from those?
What's it like working on camera versus voiceover?
Yeah.
Well, I always say it's very similar because it's all acting. I'm doing the same thing. It's all coming from here. On camera, I might have to get up at 6 a.m. I might have to put on some makeup, put on an outfit, go to a location. Voiceover, I can show up in this outfit, and I have. So it's and you don't have to memorize anything, But I have affection for both sides equally because I just like to act, man. I just like it. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Adrian.
Yes. So you've been in so many different things. What are some of your most memorable voiceover or television appearances? What are your most memorable and favorite moments?
Man, when I was 17, I did a TV series called Erie, Indiana, and it blew my mind to be cast in something like that because it was like making little Twilight Zone movies. It was produced and partially directed by Joe Dante, who I was a big fan of. He did Gremlins and Inner Space and Twilight Zone, and I worked with some amazing people. I learned a lot, and to this day, anyone who brings up Erie, Indiana, I'll talk to you about it all day. I just love it. And Omri Katz, who starred in Hocus Pocus, he starred in Erie, Indiana. So that's how we first met. So we got to work together a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay, next question, Mr. P. You have another one?
You did a voiceover for a lot of superheroes, but who's your favorite?
My favorite superhero that I guess I did kind of voice him. My favorite superhero is Batman. I love the Batman, and I got to voice Batman Beyond briefly because my best friend Will Friedle, who's the voice of Batman Beyond, he was doing a movie of the week in Canada, and he was unavailable to do these Warner Brothers promos. If you remember, the Kids WB had these promos where they were kind of rotoscope characters from the TV shows, put them in different scenarios, and there was one where Batman was singing a lullaby to Jigglypuff, and then they had Batman Beyond in there. But Will wasn't available, so they brought me in to do it. I didn't audition or nothing; they just brought me in. I didn't realize I sounded like Will, so I got to do those promos as Batman Beyond, the Will Friedle version, just for a little bit. Mr. Fahine, yeah. Hi, I'm Will. Hi. Will Friedle here. No, Jay, I can't come visit you in Nashville. I can't. I'm too busy cleaning my toenails. I can't. You'll never see it.
So I know, Rebecca, you have a question, ma'am.
Yes, what was your experience working on the Munsters reboot?
Yeah, man, good job. Before Erie, Indiana, my first TV series was a reboot of the Munsters called The Munsters Today, and it was outstanding. It was my first really big gig, and we went 3 seasons. We were in hindsight, I never realized because I was so young, but we had some guest stars, some amazing guest stars, some actors who were on old character actor comedians, Sandy Barron and oh my gosh, we had Pat Morita guest star, and we shot on the Universal Studios lot. And at the time, I lived across the street from Universal Studios on Lancashire. And right now, where there is a subway station, there used to be an apartment building, and that's where I lived. And this is before security was a big deal, and they knew me. So on my days off, on the weekends, I just ride my bike over onto Universal Studios and hang out on the back lots. They did not care. And that was like my playground. And they were shooting Back to the Future 2. They were shooting Dick Tracy. And I would, like, they didn't care. I would just hang out on those sets. And that was like some of the most memorable childhood moments growing up, going through puberty, hanging out on the back lot of Universal Studios. Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I have time for one more question. Mr. Allen?
Mr. Allen, in the front, yeah.
I'm very Southern. I put Mr. in front of everybody.
I love it.
So you never miss. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the new stage name now, Mr. Allen.
Mr. Allen.
But yeah, so I know you've worked on like the Goofy movie, which
Yes.
was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah, man.
And I was wondering how like your dynamic is with Bill in real life.
I wish he was here with me right now. Bill Farmer, have you guys talked to him?
Yeah,
Yes.
yesterday.
Bill is an outstanding human being. I love doing cons with Bill because you've talked with him. He's just grounded, super nice guy, unassuming, personality. And when we're at cons, he will be behind his table, and not a lot of people know who he is just by looking at him, but they'll look at him and they'll look at the picture of Goofy on his table, look back at him, look at Goofy, and they're like, are you the voice of Goofy? And he'll look at him and go, gosh, I sure am. And people just burst into confetti because that we did a panel yesterday, and him just doing the voice sends these ripples of giddiness. Because he's Goofy, for crying out loud. He's like one of the most beloved, trifecta of Disney characters out there, and when you experience that firsthand, it gives you those good nostalgic feelings, man. Yeah, I love Billy. I love him so much. It's like a real father-son dynamic, and I live in Nashville now, so I get to see my friends through convention appearances, and thanks to a Goofy movie, we get to see each other all the time. We've traveled together, and we've gone to weddings and stuff like that. He's an outstanding human being. Yeah.
We enjoyed him the other day.
Yeah.
He was here Friday.
Yes.
He was here Friday because he made a video for my son who wasn't here that day.
Perfect. Disney legend. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went to school in Nashville, by the way. But
Right on.
me and the snobby rich kids, but I'm not one of those.
Hugh Fogg.
No, Vanderbilt.
Even snobbier. Vanderbilt's a great school. Yeah, right on.
Maybe. So.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will. So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. They work out for all the locals, school will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf, if we won't tell it we will. We will.